The Supreme Court minced no words today as it pulled up the State Bank of India for failing to furnish the information on electoral bond scheme by the set deadline of March 6th and instead sought more time. The Chief Justice headed bench even went on to question the SBI. What were you exactly doing for 26 days? India's biggest government bank had requested time till June 30th, but what the Supreme Court gave them is 24 hours. In fact, less than that. By the end of tomorrow, if SBI fails to release information regarding electoral bonds, serious action would follow, warned the court. The State Bank argued it is a time-consuming process to match which donor donated how much money to a political party, to which political party. But the Supreme Court simply said, we don't want to know that. Just give the details of donors and bonds encashed by parties, and that the court did not ask for details to be matched. Subsequently, the Supreme Court ordered the Election Commission to publish the details on its website by 5 p.m. on Friday. If you remember, a constitution bench of the Supreme Court had struck down the electoral bond scheme on February 15th, calling it unconstitutional, which violates citizens' right to information. I'm being joined right now by Pathania, who's the spokesperson for BJP, Major General Anil Verma, who's a national coordinator and head for ADR, as well as Arshpreet Khadial, who's a Congress spokesperson. Thank you very much, all three of you, for joining us. Well, to you first, Major General Anil Verma. Sir, it was ADR had also challenged the petition of SBI in the court. How do you look at what has emerged out of the court?
Well, we welcome the judgment because this is the logical conclusion to which the 15th February judgment had to be taken, because the tactics of State Bank of India was, I would say, delay tactics, nothing else, because it was very clear in the judgment, the para which the Chief Justice quoted in today's hearing also, that they never asked for the matching. They simply said, please give the names of the donors, what was the amount, what date did they purchase it, and they said which political party got it, when was it encashed, and what was the amount. So when the lawyer was grilled by the court, he said, yes, that information is available, because the Chief Justice told them very clearly, you yourself in your affidavit has said that once the tranche sale is completed, immediately complete details are sent in a sealed cover to the Mumbai State Bank headquarters. So if that data is available, why aren't you giving it? So he said that is available. So he said, give it. It was as simple as that. So, and they, of course, you've already mentioned, they asked them, what were you doing in the last 26 days? What action did you take? So they had no answer for that.
Absolutely. In fact, let me just go across to Pathania. Pathania, huge embarrassment for the SBI, but also for the government. The opposition has been literally singing songs after that about how the BJP would not have ever expected this from the court. But very, very strong words coming out right up before the elections. And considering how the court has called electoral bonds completely unconstitutional in its verdict, how are you looking at this?
Yes, Sneha, first of all, a very good evening to everybody on board. The basic common thread which remains, that what was the ultimate intention, what was the ultimate object which was sought to be achieved with the introduction of this novel concept of electoral bonds. We tried to move the system from gunny bags and suitcases to electoral bonds. We, in the field of electoral finances, we moved one step ahead. But Supreme Court said, no, 2 steps ahead. We are ready for that. We respect the dictum, the letter, as well as the spirit of the Constitution Bench judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court. That is one aspect of the matter. Very sweet and very simple. But the way the opposition
you still aren't coming to the point, aren't you?
Guns, please. Yes, Sneha, please. Sneha, please repeat.
Sir, you still aren't responding to the question that I really asked about being a huge embarrassment for the BJP government.
you there's a very known adage by Lord Denning. You may be wrong, but you are always clear.
Okay, that's where you're ending it. Arshpreet Khadial, how do you look at this? And I have to go back to ask a very important and pertinent question to Major General Anil Verma. But Arshpreet Khadial, the BJP saying the intent wasn't wrong, but the court has very clearly struck the electoral bond scheme down as unconstitutional. But with what has happened in the court and what has happened in similar hearings much before, even before the entire issue of electoral bonds, how is the Congress looking at it?
Our first question to the Bharatiya Janata Party is a very simple one, and I hope that the Bharatiya Janata Party would answer the question of the nation. Does the Bharatiya Janata Party welcome this order of the Supreme Court, or do they not? This would basically clarify the stand of the Bharatiya Janata Party if they are in favor of it or if they're against it, because as SBI at the end of the day is a government-owned bank. And not just that, electoral bonds were brought by the very Bharatiya Janata Party government, where that's been declared unconstitutional. And the Bharatiya Janata Party's leaders have been quiet about it. They've been mum about it. Otherwise, they're very open and, they embrace the orders, they welcome the orders, they go all about it, they speak over it. But I haven't heard any BJP leader welcoming it. Why? Is this not a win of the democracy? Has the Supreme Court has said that it's a right of the people to know, and if the nation's having to disclose the details, and if they're having to pay tax, and if they're having to ensure transparency, why should you be exempted of it? And there should be no problem. Now, as far as the SBI's argument goes, there are 2-3 things that I want to point out. One is that the very Bharatiya Janata Party government that is mum now used to say that we have stepped towards digitization. And, if we really have done that, then it shouldn't really be a problem. It should happen in seconds, minutes, hours. And experts have said that it shouldn't take any more than 24 hours to do that. And on top of that, the SBI application in the Honorable Supreme Court, in submissions, it could be clearly seen that the SBI has the data readily available. And despite that, for them to ask for 116 days, for them to have the date set, to request for the date June 30th, I don't understand why, because there's a coincidence here. June 30th is what the date SBI wanted, is the date that the SBI wanted. And June 16th is the term when the Lok Sabha tenure ends. Now, my question to the Bharatiya Janata Party is it not important for the people to make an informed decision when it comes to exercising their right to vote? If they would know, if they would have information and they would know who has done what, and the Bharatiya Janata Party should actually come forward and welcome this. And not just that, the Bharatiya Janata Party should also clarify stand on the...
For something that's available in the click of button, and that's not Mr. Khadial alone speaking. Experts have said this. Former financial secretaries have said this on record to media after media, that it is available at the click of the button. And nowhere in the court order had the court ever mentioned that it needs to be matched to which political party it is being said. So was this a political masterstroke that went awry and it just backfired because the court said, why 26 days, why so long for something that's available? Is this one of those masterstrokes that backfired?
Sneha, one thing which we need to understand, that the bewildered, bruised and battered opposition, they have got some foothold. They are trying to make full hay while the sun shines. You see, the cases are won and cases are lost. But too much of euphoria, enigma, and foreplay in a Supreme Court judgment, this is virtually unprecedented. We specifically say we respect the letter as well as the spirit of the Honorable Supreme Court's order. You will come to see very shortly what a bit of a suspense has been tried to be. Everybody has been kept on the tenterhooks, what's kept of it. You see, one thing is very, very clear. Bharatiya Janata Party is the ruling party. Obviously, Bharatiya Janata Party has got a large share of the electoral bonds. That's why too much of fanfare and too much of hullabaloo about it. So my respectful submission, please see it in good taste. Let us.
पूछा ही नहीं है किस political party को क्या मिलना चाहिए. Anyway, let me just go across to, at this point, Major General Anil Verma ji. Sir, two things that I want to ask you. Of course, electoral bonds has been deemed unconstitutional, that being one part of it. But isn't this whole thing about what seems to be emerging, or at least allegations that are surfacing? There are some people who are trying to put data together on this also, about how electoral bonds allegedly were a means to make white the black money. These are allegations emerging, of course. If this is true, then isn't this to be seen in the light of why the SBI would have asked for a date post the Lok Sabha elections?
Oh, well, as per my assessment, the basic reason why the State Bank of India was asking for time till 30th June was just that the elections are over and nothing else. Because this matching of thing, like I mentioned earlier, was never asked by the Supreme Court in the judgment of 15th February. The question about black money being converted into white and otherwise, this is not the civil society or the media or the other people saying it. This was said by no less than the RBI, the Election Commission of India. It is a different matter that Election Commission after 2017 changed their stand and then kept quiet about it, and then but it all depends who's manning these posts, really speaking. And all the other people who matter, they said this is going to lead to money laundering, this can lead to corruption, this can lead to foreign funding, because all the restrictions which were existing were removed. Income Tax Act, RBI Act, RPA, Companies Act, everything was amended. And that is why the Supreme Court declared all these amendments unconstitutional and removed them. So the interesting part will be when the data comes out. Now, as per the SBI, it says it's a very
So what are you looking at the data? I mean, as a layperson, people have been asking me that if the data is going to come out and we don't know which political parties got what, because obviously it had the anonymity clause, and that's one of the reasons why it's been struck down. So what are we looking at gaining from this data?
You jumped the gun. I was about to tell about that only. So that is what is going to be most interesting, because people have already started preparing. The moment the data is out, there will be great deal of analysis done by different people. There are a lot of researchers, there are a lot of media houses who have already started preparing for it, and they will do the matching. It's not going to take too long, let me tell you, to link as to which party received from which corporates. I think it is going to come out very fast. So that is what the Supreme Court is saying, that the people's right to know who's funding the political parties. And there was a great deal of discussion on the quid pro quo aspect during the hearing in when the judgment was given in February. So that is what the people have to know. And of course, it's up to the people to decide whether, you see, another question which people ask is it going to make a difference in the voting? I don't know. But at least the information is there with the people. Let them decide.
Pathania, quickly, a minute to you.
Please. Sneha, one silver lining out of this dark cloud is that a particular section of opposition leaders and a bunch of people indulging in purple activism across the country, at least they have welcomed the Honorable Supreme Court judgment. That's the silver lining. Earlier, they doubted ED, they doubted CBI, they doubted Supreme Court, they even doubted the EVMs also. They called for ballot papers to be introduced. Now they are praising the Election Commission of India also. That's also a welcome step. So the entire Janmanas of the country, we are very confident that they trust the intention and the very objective behind the innovative concept.
Pathania,
the battle in the Supreme Court.
Pathania, Major General Anil Verma, as well as Arshpreet Khadial, thank you very much for joining